continue to have a few folks join us here this morning. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to MoASSP statewide Zoom meeting for today, Wednesday, April 29th. My name is Clark Mershon, Executive Director of the Missouri Association of Secondary School Principals. This is our 6th statewide Zoom meeting. Today, our focus turns to graduations and finding ways to honor the class of 2020. We're very happy to have with us today Jeff Peterson, Kaylin Davidson, and John Glennon, all from Jostens. They're the experts from Jostens. And as most of you know, Jostens has been a proud sponsor of MoASSP for a very long time, for many, many years. Very proud of the partnership that we've had with Jostens through the years. Topic today is timely. Once again, we'd like to welcome Jeff, Kaylin, and John. And now Doug Mertz, Program Director, has a few housekeeping items. Doug?
Real quickly, once again, thank you for attending, and we appreciate Jostens' support of our principals around the state of Missouri. A few ground rules for the day. Just mute your microphone if you're not talking. We are going to be recording this Zoom for distribution later. We do have a live chat feature, and if you have a question and you can't get your microphone or something to work, type in your question, send it to me, and I will get that to our 3 Jostens reps so that they can take care of the question. And depending on how many are online, just be patient because we'll get to your question at some point. I'm going to stop sharing here in a second. And then I'm going to turn this over to John, Jeff, and Kaylin.
I'm going to share my screen. And so
I'm going to do it.
That'd be great. And then John, I don't know if you wanted to say some words. If not, I can jump right in.
I'll be happy to. So little background here. When COVID-19 became a reality, Jostens and Jostens Salesforce knew that we needed to do something to help our customers, principals, parents, teachers, sponsors, and kids, most of all, on what we're going to do with graduation. Lots of scary days and scary nights, which haven't ended, but they do seem to be getting better, and with people making plans. And so what we'd like to do today is to help you with the things that if you're not going to be able to have a graduation like you've always had, if you're going to have to do it different, let's give you some ideas that you can use. And I think that's what we want to do today. Would that be fair, Jeff?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Jeff because he is the, he's the guy from out of town, right? He's the expert that came from someplace else. So up there in Minnesota, here we go, Jeff. Thank you so much for being with us today.
For sure. No, and thanks everybody for having me. And if you like what you see over the next couple of minutes, then thank you. We will proudly accept that praise. And if you don't, then it's all John. So just you can email John and say, "What the heck, John? What are your people doing up there?" So, but I am up here in Minneapolis. It's we had our one good day of weather a couple days ago, so that was it. Check the box, and now we're back to normal Minneapolis weather. So it's as we're all kind of quarantining. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to share my screen, and just over the next 10-15 minutes or so, I'm going to walk you through what we have designed here to help schools do exactly what Clark was saying at the outset, which is to make sure that our graduates this year are recognized, and just as importantly, make sure that your school's traditions are preserved. Over the next 15 minutes or so, you're gonna hear me reference our daughters. So Betsy and I have 4 daughters. 2 have graduated from high school. 2 are still in high school. One of them is a senior this year. And so on behalf of Josie, who is a senior in high school, we are personally feeling the impacts of what this crazy spring has done to our graduates. And so Jostens, as you all know, we have a vested interest in maintaining graduation for all the kids like Josie. But I would also say, and I would say this if Josie were right here, instead of allegedly distance learning somewhere in this house, which means she's sleeping in still. It's 10 o'clock Central here. But I'd say just, even if she were right here, I'd say just as important to celebrating students like Josie is preserving the school traditions that you've all worked so hard to build up, whether it's been over the last 10 years or last 100 years. Those are the things that, even in light of this very extraordinary season that we're in, we believe that those need to be preserved. Okay, there's nothing, not even a global pandemic, should have to stop what makes your school important and meaningful, not just for this year's class, but for all the classes to come and all the classes that pass. So that's what went into a little bit of the mission, if you will, of developing what we've done just to help schools do that. Now, I will say at the outset here, and because we've been on a lot of these calls, we've had the great fortune to work with our partners like John across the country to have these kinds of conversations at the association level. So I don't take it lightly. I thank you very much for inviting me to share this. But full disclosure, when we come into these, we say that this is a backup plan. Okay, our hope at Jostens is that schools are able to navigate these next couple of weeks, and whether it's in working with their states or their local communities, we hope that that graduation can be preserved in its traditional sense. You know, whether that means it's delayed or other kind of physical kind of accommodations. And so we put this together, though, just in case, kind of a thing. And so now, as the season is unfolding, and now we're seeing more states, kind of announce that school is now closed for the rest of the year. We are finding that it is becoming less of an option and maybe more of a reality. And so, we're happy to bring this stuff forward and work with you to again preserve those traditions. At the outset, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to walk you through what we've built. Everything that we have here is on jostens.com, and it's accessible just through a passcode that John will give you guys to get at it. And then once you're in, one thing there's two big things that differentiate our approach here with virtual commencements versus our competition and other vendors that you've seen out there. It's kind of like ambulance chasers that come out of the woodwork all of a sudden. And I'm sure you guys have been approached by a lot of services out there that will execute a virtual commencement for you. So the two big differences, and those, by the way, they might be exactly what you need. So, I want to be respectful of whatever your needs are at the school. But the two big things that differentiate the approach that we've taken from other services, the first is that there's no fee to use our service at all. Okay, there's no invoice that nobody's going to get a bill after if they choose to use either all or parts of what we've built here, because we believe, and it's not that it's free. We've invested a lot of resources and dollars into this, but we've done it because of my little preamble that I started out with. Okay, and so we're actually very happy to do it. Not only offer it to our customers, but also make it available to even schools that don't work with us. And we know all of you work with us, but that's how strongly we feel. So first of all, there's no charge. The second is what we've intentionally done, and we call this approach. This is a prescriptive but porous approach. And what we mean by that is it's prescriptive in the sense that we recognize that everybody on this call has about 100 things to do today. And graduation is important, but it's just one of many things that even if this was a normal year, it would already be a very busy time of year. And so we wanted to make this approach very easy to follow and almost, little paint by numbers, so that if people just wanted to take the steps and get it done, it can get done. But the second element of this approach is being porous. Okay, and what we mean by that is a lot of the other services that you'll find out there that again might work for you are kind of a one-size-fits-all approach, where they're going to build slides for you. They're going to put music on for you. They're going to put voiceovers, and then kind of throw it back over the transom, and then and give you something that you can basically just press play and show. And we believe that this year, of any year, your students deserve and need some kind of personal connection, some sense that, you know, that they haven't been spending the last 6 weeks and the next however many weeks communicating through computer screens and Skypes and Zooms, kind of all for naught. And so we've intentionally made room in our approach for the unique school traditions to seep in, you know, kind of like water seeping into cracks in a basement or like ours. But so anyway, so as I walk through this, you're going to see where we've intentionally made room for schools to be infusing their commencement with their own kind of flavor. All right, so with that, what I'm going to do is walk you through how we've built the site. And as I say, you just need a code that you get from John, and then you're off to the races. There's no deadlines, there's no lead times, there's nothing. You don't owe Jostens anything, okay? Once you get into the site, okay? You're never sending us material and then, you know, 3 weeks in advance and then waiting for it to come back. You know, it's like getting keys to the house. As soon as you got the keys and you're in the house, you can take whatever you want. So it's actually better than keys to a house. So anyway, the way this site is built, back to the prescriptive nature, is we walk you through, and it's set up in 3 sections, okay? We talk about the technology platform that you're going to need to execute a virtual commencement. Then we talk about the program itself, the ceremony, the elements of the ceremony. And then the third stage, actually, there's nothing virtual about it at all. It's actually very live, and just some ideas around distributing diplomas and getting pictures taken in a safe but fun way. So jumping right into it, the first stop on our little virtual commencement express here is the technology platform. And as we all know on this call, we've all experienced, whether we've wanted to or not, we've all become a lot more tech savvy than we were 6 weeks ago. And so when we talk about the platform that your school is going to need to execute a virtual commencement, we first acknowledge that you may already have a technology platform that is going to work. And right now we're all using Zoom, and your school may be already using Zoom or Skype or something that is going to work. And so if that's the case, then great. Okay, we don't sell technology, we don't sell live streaming platforms, but we have partnered with Zoom to basically give our local partners like John a special kind of Zoom license. It's called a webinar license, and this one might be a webinar license. I'm not exactly sure, but the reason that first of all, the reason we partnered with Zoom is because we looked at a lot of different technology platforms, and we found that Zoom was the smoothest platform to be going back and forth from things like PowerPoint, things like video, and then like live interaction, like right now, which I don't think you can. Maybe you can still see my camera, but when we looked at all the other a lot of other technology out there, we felt Zoom had the best kind of flow, if you will. But the reason we specifically went with this certain license that John has, and so this is a webinar license that is typically $300 to $400 a month, if you wanted to have it for your school. It's a premium license, and it's premium because it delivers 2 things that kind of the normal Zoom, the free Zoom doesn't provide. The first is it delivers a capacity of up to 1,000 participants that can be on the call in real time. So like right now, I'm looking at our participant ticker here. It looks like we have 68 people on this call. And so the specific webinar license that John has to be able and can bring to your schools will take up to 1,000 people that are logged in and interacting in real time. And then if you do have schools that have more than 1,000 graduates, which we've run into that, then what we do is we work with you to basically broadcast then the event out onto a platform like Facebook Live or Instagram Live or YouTube or even your own website. But what we found is that Now, if you have more than 1,000 graduates, we can also work with you to get an expanded license. But basically, you know, the first of two kind of benefits that our particular type of Zoom license brings to you is that increased capacity. Lots of people can be on the call, okay? Now, the second feature, though, of the webinar license is actually even more important, and it has to do with control, okay? So like Doug, for example, is our host of today's call. And what the webinar license affords you, your school, are two things around security that the normal Zoom license doesn't. The first is actually around the registration. And so like we all got a link to be on this call today. I just got a link and then I had to register my name. And then I was kind of basically in. The way the webinar is set up is you send out an email to everybody who is going to be invited, okay? They register, and then they're given a unique passcode, okay? It's kind of like getting a concert ticket. And so what happens with the reason that's a benefit is, you know, I guess they could give their code to somebody else, okay? But it'd be like giving your concert ticket to somebody else. And so if I want to give my Foo Fighters ticket to, you know, whatever, Betsy, she's going to go enjoy Foo Fighters and I'm not going to go. And so there's a level, it's single use individual passcode that gets delivered to everybody. So it gives you a lot of control in terms of like who's actually able to come to the event. The second is the level of control that the host has from the very beginning. And so the default on these webinar licenses is that when everybody enters the room, okay, so Doug, I think, or somebody had to let you all in, had to let us all in to this webcast. The default on all of that is everybody's video is muted and everybody's audio is muted. And it's only that host has supreme control of assigning duties or privileges to all of the participants. And the reason that's important is that, you know, for the folks that you do want to give privileges to, like if you have a valedictorian that's going to give a speech, or the principal, or the teacher of the year, you want to be able to like turn on their camera and turn on their microphone. And then if they, you know, ramble on too long or whatever, they wouldn't, you can turn them off. Like right now, you know, Doug could probably shut me off right now with his hosting kind of power. But that's what the webinar license affords you, is that control over how everybody is sort of kind of participating in the event. So
Hey, Jeff,
yeah.
Somebody's not on mute and they're typing. Could we get somebody to mute I cannot find that person. It won't let me do the ones that are on phone. So
okay.
If you could mute your microphone, that'd be great.
Perfect. And as if that were staged, and it wasn't, but Doug, that is a perfect actually example of, with the webinar license, Doug wouldn't have had to ask that because he actually would have seen that. So he would have been able to go through and see who hasn't been muted yet, and he would have done it. So that was perfect. So I should bring on our next call, Doug. That was like perfectly timed and a good example of just the level of control that this license has. But again, back to technology. You know, want to make it really, really clear. Jostens is not selling technology. You don't have to use Zoom. But we do want to make sure that we're making it available at no charge for schools that do need a platform, okay? So one way or another, we're going to get that figured out first. Check that box. Then we move on to the actual program itself. And this is a perfect example of, in our approach, the sort of the porous nature that we've taken in identifying your ceremony elements. And so we've identified the 5 sort of like gotta have elements of a virtual commencement. And we're providing digital content to help you execute these 5. But if you've got, you know, 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 elements that are traditions that you want to have, you know, you always light the cauldron, or you always, you know, blow the bugle or something like that. You can totally do all that stuff. But we've identified 5 things that if all you did were these 5, you could, with a straight face, say, yep, we had a virtual commencement. And so it starts with music. And so, you know, this is depending on your proclivity, pomp and circumstance is either something that you get to hear once a year, or you have to hear once a year. I was a trumpet player for years in high school, and I played for many ceremonies, and so I was in more of the have to hear it because it just kind of goes on and on and on. So one of the advantages, one of the maybe only advantages of having to do all this stuff virtually this year is you don't have to play pomp and circumstance for every single student as they process and sort of recess. So you can just play a couple bars from this thing and kind of get the idea. But anyway, we are, you may have, your band may already have a recording of it, or your band director might have a neat idea to get a bunch of band members together and do it live. If so, that's fine, that's great. But we are providing a royalty-free MP3 file of pomp and circumstance to play during the procession. We also have, and some of you might have seen it last week, but we also have been really honored to work with Lori McKenna, who is a Grammy award-winning singer and songwriter. She's kind of more country folky, but she actually lives up in Boston. Anyway, she wrote Humble and Kind and Girl Crush, a lot of great songs. Anyway, she has a song that we are announcing on May 1st. And it was written not specifically for graduation, but it's a beautiful song that is really, really appropriate for graduation, especially this year. And she has a daughter who's graduated from high school this year. So anyway, some special music is also going to be in this little section of the site if you want to kind of bring it into your ceremony. So got music taken care of. Commencement speeches are the next kind of signature element that you kind of got to have in any kind of commencement ceremony. And so this is, again, a great example of just like we're doing on this call. You can do them live on Zoom. And so you could just assign the duties over to the principal. Principal can say his or her words, and then, assign it over to the valedictorian. You do all that stuff live. But we've also been building a library of virtual commencement speeches from people of note across the country, of just in various areas. We have NASCAR drivers and musicians and professional football players and the list, motivational speakers. And this library just kind of keeps growing every day. One of our reps has a relationship with Mark Cuban. And so we're actually asking Mark Cuban if he's got some words that he wants to share. And so these aren't like super formal commencement addresses. These are 2 to 3 minute just shout outs to the class of 2020 from people that might resonate with your students. So free to use any of those. And then the next stage, when we talk about the presentation of graduates, obviously the only reason we're on this call is because we're not maybe going to have the luxury of having students walk across the stage and pick up a diploma and shake somebody's hand. And so in lieu of that, we've created, and I'll show them to you in a second here, just these really easy to populate PowerPoint templates, basically, where there's just 3 areas where you put a picture, a name, and then a quote. And if you really want to make it simple, we have versions that is just the picture and the name. And so the idea here is that these slides will get populated by either, a parent, or it could be a great way to get your student senate engaged to, collect the images and assemble these. But this is a big, I'll tackle it head on. This is another example of where our approach differs from other services that are out there. Other services will charge, between $5 and $10 a student to put these slides together for you. Okay, so like you would send them all your stuff like 3 weeks in advance, and then they'd build the slides for you, maybe even put a voiceover on top of it, and then send them back. And we're not taking that approach. We don't build your slides for you, and for a couple of reasons. One is when we look at how much, how easy it is, and how we've made it really easy. Quite frankly, we just don't feel good about charging $5 to $10 per kid to do that. It's just not. I don't know. It's not something really worth $10 per student. But the second reason really goes back to what I said at the outset about this is a great opportunity to bring a personal element into your ceremony, and whether it's from the people that put them together, like parents, or how they're being presented then in your ceremony by being read, by somebody who your students are going to recognize, and so they're going to hear their name pronounced correctly. We just think it does require a little bit more work, on the school's part, but it's not a lot of work, and we feel like it provides that real personal kind of touch that students really need even more than ever this spring. So after the presentation of graduates, then basically is the moment where they go from being students to alumni. And so for the tassel turn, we've just created a little fun 3D animated little, it's like a GIF that you play on the screen at that moment. And so it's just for fun. It's not going to change the world, but it's something that sort of signifies that transition from student to alumni. And then for the last kind of sort of step in the ceremony that we're presenting here is the cap toss. And so this is a tradition in a lot of schools. And unfortunately, we don't have the benefit of, the students aren't going to be right next to each other, throwing their caps up in the air and kind of creating that chaotic kind of moment. But we want to provide some level of fun, because that's a fun experience. And so what we're going to do is we're going to invite all of the seniors this year, from the class of 2020, to do their cap toss virtually. Okay, so they're going to actually, at their home, we're going to invite them to take a selfie of them throwing their cap in the air, and then they're going to send that video to us at Jostens. And we're going to take all these videos from across the country and mash them all together into a big national cap toss video for the class of 2020. So, and again, we're not winning Nobel Peace Prizes with that, but it is, we feel like, something that we can just make some fun with and really help celebrate the solidarity of the class of 2020. So those are the 5 elements of the ceremony that we've built things out for schools to use. But again, fully encourage and celebrate any additional elements that bring that unique aspect of your school. All right, so then finally, the last stage of the last kind of area of the site that we've built, as I mentioned, this isn't actually virtual at all. So you'll read about it online, but all of the execution in this step actually happens out in the real world. And it's about distributing diplomas and taking pictures. And obviously with diplomas, you can mail them and kind of be done with it. But we do feel like this is another great example of a way to make that personal connection. And you've seen great examples. I mean, John and his team have some of our best examples at Jostens of the grad products drop-off events. And so that sense of, kind of in the face of all of this adversity, you just see, how almost hungry people are to still connect in those ways. And so the examples that John and your schools have already been demonstrating have been, I mean, we literally like celebrate them across the company because they're so cool. And so these are very much in that same vein, so we've got the drive-through pickup idea here, where people are just going to get in their cars and buzz by and pick it up, from the principal. This parade pickup idea is one that we ripped off from a school in Texas. They were already going to do this and have some fun with the actual day of their virtual commencement, because they already knew they had to do one. They actually petitioned the mayor to actually have the mayor recognize that day as it's like the official class of 2020 day for the town or something like that. And so they got the fire trucks are gonna, come, and they're actually gonna have a legit parade through town with cars decorated, and then end up at the school to pick up their diplomas. And then the stage pickup, we've seen other ideas here with like football fields, set up a big stage on the football field, or set up a stage, in a gym. And it seems a little excessive to do it just for one person at a time, but we actually like that. We actually think that's sort of like extreme kind of spotlight idea of giving every student their moment could actually be a really memorable way for them to receive their diploma. So however they get it in their hands, the very last stage of the virtual commencement experience, we think is the picture. Okay, getting a picture and helping parents kind of coordinate that. And a real quick final story about Josie before we close. So I mentioned we have 4 daughters. They're all at home. Minnesota's been on lockdown now for the last few weeks. And so they all camped out in the much better areas of this house to do all of their distance learning. And I'm down in the basement with the foosball table that you can't see. It's out of frame. But Josie, our senior, just very coincidentally, it happens to be in our den, which is right above me. And in the den, there are 4 picture frames on the wall. 2 of them are already filled with pictures of her older sisters, Alice and Lily, in their high school cap and gown holding their diploma, and they hate the pictures. They think they're the dorkiest things. Betsy and I love them because we are envisioning the day when all 4 of those picture frames are filled with the same pictures, okay, the same kinds of pictures. And so, so this last stage of helping, you know, families get this picture, it's not just for Josie, it's not just for Jeff and Betsy, but we do feel like this is a really sort of like, it's like a capstone moment, you know, and making sure that students get this sort of like, you know, memory and artifact of their graduation. We think, you know, it's like a picture says 1,000 words or whatever that is, but we think it's important. So, and there's easy and safe ways to do it. So that's our last little kind of like bit of encouragement, I guess you could say, in the virtual commencement program that we have. You know, finding a landmark, setting up a photographer 6 feet away, and then to encourage it further, we are, similar to the Cap Toss video, we're going to be inviting students from across the country to then submit their graduation photo to us, and we're going to put together a virtual photo album for the class of 2020. So again, just kind of for fun. So those are the 3 stages. The rest of the site then is basically chock full of all the stuff. Okay, so we've got things like announcement insert cards, and so for folks that have already received maybe paper announcements that might have outdated now date, place, and time, if you want to go into the site, and these are all customizable. You can be customizing them with the new date and time for your virtual event, and then you can send these out either on email, or you can print out stickers on Avery labels or paper. We've got email templates. So these are it's a kind of announcement templates for any of the diploma distribution ideas. You don't have to use any of this stuff, but we wanted to make it available. We've got some, from a training standpoint, we have a really detailed commencement guide. So step by step, it's kind of like an owner's manual that goes through every single step, so that you can, you know, and then we've got videos and kind of tutorials on how to actually put it together. So if that's helpful, we've got a lot of different slide backgrounds that can be used. Again, you don't have to use any of them, but if it helps get some schools down the road. These are the student slide templates here on the left-hand side that we've developed. They look really, you know, professional, and they look harder to put together than they are. As I said, there's really just 3 areas of input, and so they can be put together pretty easily. And then we've got an invitation, if you want to use that, to actually send out to your families, let them know when the event is. And then, as I mentioned, we just have a bunch of different slide kind of backgrounds if they're helpful to you. Don't need to use any of them, but if it helps, we wanted to make them available. And we continue to add, I mean, literally just this morning, we had a request to add some Spanish language materials on here for schools in areas of the country that have a really predominantly Spanish-speaking student body. And so we're going to be doing that. So we're adding more stuff kind of day by day, but you kind of get the idea of the stuff that's on there. All right, so that's it. Those are the stages. That's the stuff, kind of our philosophy a little bit. A couple of Josie stories thrown in there for good measure. And so I think we can maybe just open it up. Doug, I think you were looking at some questions as they're coming in, and happy to take any of them on this call.
Just a second, I'm kind of going through the questions here real quick. Okay, so one of the questions is, how many weeks in advance does Jostens need to reprint graduation announcements, inserts for parents who ordered? Our tentative date is July 19th for this particular school.
So Doug, this is John. Each Jostens representative's office is handling this a bit differently, but I'll tell you what my office did. And we sent an email to every parent that gave them a template that they could fill out and could actually print the insert cards themselves. It also, in the same email, said that if you're not able to print them or you would rather have somebody else do that, we would do it free of charge for you if you'd contact us. And so we gave them a way to do that. And I think that each Jostens office is going to handle that a bit differently. But Carrie, I hope that answers your question. They happen immediately. So if a parent lets Kaylin know that we want them or that they want them, then we do it immediately and send them out. So there's really not a lead time.
Okay. It does not look like I have any other questions right now.
If there's not questions, I have some comments, if that's okay.
That's good.
It's interesting enough to me that we're coming up on the 1st of May, and I, during this meeting, got an email from a school saying, hey, we haven't ordered our diplomas. What do we do? Hey, that's a problem. We need to, if you haven't ordered diplomas, or if you're thinking about changing dates on diplomas that you already have, you need to be on top of that right now. There's no chance we have the ability to fix these things at the last second with all of the changes that are going on. Normally in my world, with 97 schools, I might have 4 graduation changes in a year, and Jostens is going to have 20,000 graduation changes in a year. We're not capable of fixing it. So you need to be ahead of this right now. If you've got something going on that we need to know about, please contact your Jostens representative. Make sure that they know what's going on and give us a chance to fix it.
Okay. We had one question about, would this recording be shared with everyone that participated? It will be on our website probably by tomorrow. It'll be in the top left side. We have all of our statewide Zooms, the videos uploaded through YouTube. So those will be available for any or everyone that would like to view it.
There's also, just to jump in there, there's also, I'm sure John has shared it, and if not, I can reshare it with this group. In addition to this recording, we also do have a even shorter, it's like 2.5 minutes, because you avoid all the stories about my kids. That basically walks through the whole site as well. So that might be another thing if you need to be sharing out this with staff or other people, that's an even tighter kind of overview of the program.
Jeff, how would somebody see a virtual commencement done? Is there one out there that somebody's done and they can watch it?
Yep. So we have there are a couple that we've got on the site. One of them is from just us, like our team. Emily and Sarah are on our team, and Emily is like the principal, and Sarah's the valedictorian. So we have like a little 4-minute, very truncated, like it's not end to end like long, but we've got that sort of demo, and then we also have like an annotated kind of PowerPoint slide that basically tells you how to do whatever element you just saw, in the video, if you will. And then we do have another example that actually one of our reps put together also on the site. So there's a couple of examples that you can watch to get a sense for how to put it together. But even as we just started this call, and I think it was Doug, who at the very outset, it was a pretty seamless transition from Clark to Doug, and Doug shared, the PowerPoint slide, and, a lot of that stuff. So much of it we found is just getting comfortable with the technology platform. And then a lot of it's like giving a lecture, in front of a class. You're going to go from PowerPoint to video to live, and so a lot of it's just getting comfortable with the technology.
Doug, would you do me a favor and send out the Jostens representatives' names and phone numbers again, in case there's somebody that is doing this and they've lost something, they can get a hold of us. And if you're not sure who your rep is, call me. So I'd be happy to answer your questions.
All right. I will definitely work on getting that out. So anybody else have any questions for Jeff, Kaylin, or John?
All right.
All right.
If not, I thank you. I'll let you guys to the rest of your meeting, but wanted to thank you again for inviting me to join. And if there's anything, obviously, I'm just a phone call away from John as well. So I'm happy to help with anything that we can do if there's questions from your specific schools. So,
Thanks, Jeff.
all right. See you
Thank
guys.
you.